If you've been smoking legal weed for at least 10 years, you may have realized the quality has gone downhill fast. I'm Katherine Goldberg. A couple months ago, I made a video explaining the 7 reasons why a lot of dispensary weed has gotten really bad. It's not to say I'm not thankful that we have access to cannabis, but I wanted to point out a lot of the corners that big cannabis cuts in order to generate profit faster and the consequence of that. And it really has, this investigation has been very enlightening for me in terms of being able to choose better cannabis products. So I didn't want to just complain, I wanted to find a solution. And I came across No-Till Kings. That may sound familiar because I've had Jake, the co-founder, on the podcast before. And originally, what piqued my curiosity about No-Till Kings was that they had this OCal certification. It's comparable to organic. It's like in California, the safest kind of cannabis certification we have. I was interested in that. Then I heard that they're known for their sativas. And if you've been with me for a while, you know that I am always on the hunt for the most energizing, clear-headed sativas. So I talked to Jake and we had a really great conversation, and I invited myself to his grow so I could see it for myself. So I wanted to share that interview with you guys now. Please excuse the audio quality in the grow room. There were a lot of fans going. I tried to edit that, but in case it's not perfect, I apologize. And Jake takes me around the grow to the different rooms and explains various components to us. It's really interesting. And then we sit down and talk for about 10 minutes, and I ask him the questions that you guys submitted. One thing I do want to point out before I show you guys the interview is that, so No-Till Kings is known for their sativas. They have 3 different sativas right now. They have J1, Jack the Ripper, and Jackapulco. Jackapulco, I was told, is the most energizing, clear-headed sativa of what feels like yesteryears. Is that a term? So I just want to point out a couple interesting things. Actually, just one interesting thing about all of these is that it's the THC content. In a world where people actually say they don't want to consume weed that's less than 30% THC, they're out of their mind, by the way, because they're missing the entire point of like good cannabis. But I digress. The sativas that No-Till Kings grows, J1, 15% THC. 15. You don't see that anymore. Okay. Jack the Ripper, 18. Okay. And Jackapulco, 20. That's pretty interesting, and that's extremely rare. Extremely. I've never seen anything below 20, below like 25, 27 in a dispensary in general. So they also, by the way, I asked for their COAs, their certificates, to see the analysis. They don't test for terpenes, but what they do is they write on each label the like effects and the aroma. So Jackapulco, for example, is euphoric, uplifting, and heavy, and the aromas are lemon, skunk, and pine. And that tracks well. So without further ado, I hope you enjoy the interview, and I'll see you guys next week. Bye.
So these are all of our mother plants, and so these plants are all vegging, and this is how we keep our genetics around, and we take clones or cuttings off of all of our mother plants, we root those clones, and that's how we fill a flower room for the production room.
Okay, when we talk about cannabis genetics, what exactly does that mean?
Like the different strains and what we're talking about, kind of?
Yeah, so I know that you guys are famous for the Jackapulco.
Jackapulco, yeah, we're definitely a very popular strain for us.
And that's a combination of Jack and...
So that strain is a cross between J1, which is the first strain, and then strain number 2, which is also a cross of Acapulco Gold times the 1. So that strain times J1 created Jackapulco.
Okay, and this might be a really dumb question, but can you talk about like how strains are combined Like what exactly? That doesn't mean plants are growing near each other.
Right. So like we did not breed that strain. Someone else bred it. And so the way that like a new strain gets made is you'll take whatever, let's say, female plant that you like, that you know how that phenotype looks and you like that strain. Then you have to take a male plant that you've either been growing from seed or that you have now grown from seed, and you would basically grow them in the same flowering room, and then the male plant would pollinate the female plant. That's how you would produce regular seeds. There's another way where people will produce feminized seeds, and what they do is they end up reversing a female plant, which then creates feminized pollen. And so there's multiple ways to create new genetics. We don't breed here, but we hunt seeds to look for new phenotypes. Here, if you want, I'll show you this one, and then you can see all the roots.
Wow.
So this is a J1 clone we took from a mother plant. We took a cutting, and over about 10 days or so, we rooted this clone. Maybe about 12 days, it grew these roots. And so this will be a new plant, but it's the same genetics. And so these are all in bottomless pots. I can actually pick one up and show you if you want to see. So this soil pot, you see there's no bottom and you can see the roots coming out. So this is going to go right into a flower room, and it'll sit on top of our living soil beds. So we don't have to dig and transplant into our no-till beds. We basically put the pot on top, and that allows the roots to grow into that soil, and it also helps reduce transplant shock.
Okay. Really basic question. What does no-till mean?
Yeah, so it means that we're not tilling the soil. So we're not like digging up all of our soil every round. We're actually reusing it. So in our flower rooms, we've been growing in 2 of our rooms for over 5 years. And we've done over like 22 harvest cycles in that same body of soil.
Does no-till and living soil always go together or not?
Pretty much always.
Okay.
Because in order to not till your soil, you have to have worms and microorganisms in there to help break down that organic matter and to help feed the soil. And then we have the next round coming as well. So it takes so much planning. We have to plan multiple runs in advance so that we can veg the clones. When we have to root the clones, we have to veg them out so that they're ready for the flower room. And keeping a schedule is a challenge.
Can you explain how all the plants are watered and fed?
So we hand water everything. Yep. So everything is hand watered at our whole facility. We mix our nutrient feeds in like a 55-gallon barrel, and then we'll hand water everywhere. Yeah.
It smells so good.
Hell yeah. This mimosa we're going to be chopping soon. Smells super fire. Wow. It's like you smell that? It smells like...
Oh my god, that smells amazing.
It's like orange smell. But this strain right here smells like super gassy. Smell that?
Yeah.
That's Gelato 41. Wow. And so this is the J1. J1's like that lemony
Oh my
turn.
god, oh yeah. Okay. That's the best smell I've ever smelled in my life.
Right?
Is that okay, that's the J1, but it's not the Jackapulco yet.
Correct. So if you look down actually in the soil here, you'll see, look at like there's worms. These are all worm castings, but see the worms right there? The worms moving around.
Wow.
Worms all over the place. Right there moving around.
And are those the pots that are bottomless?
Yeah, these are all bottomless pots, exactly.
Okay. And are the roots growing into the soil all the way down?
Yep, they're all filled out through the soil. There's a bunch of worms. Oh wow, right here. Oh my god, look at all the worms. See them all moving?
That's incredible.
So the soil's super rich. We've got a great mulch layer, and it's just the ideal environment. So the Gelato 41 purples out a lot. And so that's why it has that color.
Is that more of an indica?
Yeah, yep. To develop that smell, and it will continue. But this is how they look earlier on, where a lot more white hairs. So we're like maybe 3 or 4 weeks behind that rim that we just came from. Yeah, GMO is so fire. GMO is like that like super funky terp. It's like really, it has this wild funk to it.
And are these, how much longer do these have?
We'll chop these maybe this week. GMO has this like, yeah, it smells kind of like funk to it. This is the Jackapulco right here, both super tall. This has that like, it's like that skunky Jack. It's different than the J1, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Can you predict how are the effects any different?
Than the J1?
Yeah.
It's a heavier strain than the J1 for sure. And this is some Blue Dream. We're probably going to chop this very soon as well.
Wow.
Yeah, crazy terps.
Where do you think that falls on the sativa to hybrid?
Blue Dream's like a full sativa. But it's one of the few strains that gets darker like that. So it's interesting.
That's incredible.
Yeah, it smells bomb. Super fire smelling.
So you guys aren't the only company using living soil.
Correct. Yeah, there's a few other groups that are also farming in living soil as well.
Does anything make you different than those guys?
We are one of the few groups that is OCal certified. So we have gone and gotten that OCal certification, which is the comparable to organic certification. But, you know, we love everyone that's farming in living soil. And so, you know, we're all about top shelf quality flower. So anybody else that is doing it, they've got our respect.
So what inspired you guys to grow in living soil rather than any other method?
I think for us, we wanted to bring something different to the market, and we truly kind of fell in love with the model of farming of being able to keep your soil and not have to throw it out, and to try to produce some of the cleanest cannabis that we can. And so a combination of all of those things kind of led us to this path of trying to create a living soil focused brand and get that onto like the rec market in California.
That's a good answer. What's the biggest mistake that you guys have learned from since starting this company?
Oh, there are so many, you know what I mean? I feel like running a business is, you know, a constant like game of trial and failure. And I couldn't even point to one. There are so many different things, honestly, that we've had to overcome. And that's truly what it is, especially in farming, is there like you're going to fail many times in farming, and that is the challenge. And I think you just have to try to stay on that path and keep going.
I got a question from someone that said they wanted to try no-tills, but they had to drive like an hour farther to try it. What would you tell them to get them to make that drive?
I mean, I would say that, you know, we're a very small owner-operated facility, and we're dedicated to producing the best quality flower that we can. And I understand that is kind of the challenge. If you're in an area that is potentially far from a store that we're in, it could be tough. But, you know, I can assure you that we are putting our heart and soul into producing every product that we put out there.
What do you guys smoke?
I smoke everything that we grow. I mean, I love our SFV times animal mints. That's like a heavy OG strain. I smoke GMO a lot. Jackapulco, if I'm looking for that kind of more Jack terp. I like mimosa as well. I smoke everything, honestly, but like I tend to smoke like regularly a lot more like OG type strains like the SFV or like Laser Fuel or GMO, things like that.
Does no-till and living soil automatically mean that you can't scale up?
It's tough, you know. I think I think scaling in any cultivation setting, regardless of how you farm, is inherently difficult. And the reason it is because it's so hard to maintain quality. And so anybody can truthfully scale, but you're not going to maintain the same quality that you would have at a smaller operation. That is truly the challenge. And so it's not impossible to scale. You can certainly scale any type of model. I would say it's much harder to scale a living soil operation than it is a hydroponic operation, just in terms of how you set up fertigation and how it's kind of more standardized hydroponically, and we really have to kind of cater to the soil for living soil farming. So I think no matter what, scaling is inherently difficult, but especially in cannabis, it's almost impossible to maintain that same quality that you have at 100 lights that you would get at 1,000 lights. So, yeah.
Good answer. Are there any plans for smalls? People want 14 grams at a time.
I don't know. You know, we do. It's who knows? Who knows? I don't know. We are making a lot more pre-rolls these days, and so that's kind of the challenge, I think, for us. But I'll never say never. You know what I mean? But who knows? It's not in the works right now. Maybe one day, but I can't say that we have it planned out yet, because it's not something that we've been focused on. I would say.
You have a lot of fans out there, by the way. People like really love your stuff.
Thank you.
Just see if there's anything else. Okay, I had once. You can choose not to answer this, by the way. Someone asked. I didn't know if it was appropriate or not. Someone wanted to know what type of material was used for the Flavor Aid collab. Was it trim, sugar leaf, or whole nug runs? You can also not answer.
It varies. It does vary, so I'll leave it at that.
Okay.
The material input varies, but it is of the highest quality.
And we kind of touched on this in the grow room, but does it really come down to the genetics that makes you guys different from other living soil brands?
I think it's the genetics, the quality that we're putting out. You know, there's a couple other living soil brands that are also indoor that are putting out top tier quality flower. One of them I would name being Moon Valley Cannabis. Really good guys. They're putting out top tier flower as well. And so, you know, we've got a few of us doing it, and there's a few other groups, but I know Moon Valley personally, so they're really cool people. There's also outdoor farms that are putting out living soil products, which are just not in the same ballpark in terms of quality. And so it's just kind of a range, but yeah, I would say there's pretty much everything on the, you know, in terms of what people are looking for. There's a level in each category that might be living soil cultivated, but you're not going to have the same quality on an outdoor flower product that you would on like a top shelf indoor flower product.
Can you describe to someone what that difference might feel like between a top shelf outdoor living soil product versus a top shelf indoor living soil product? Does it really take a connoisseur to see the difference, or is it sort of like you can tell? Yeah,
I mean, with flower you can normally tell. Like a lot of it comes down to like the aroma and how it looks, how sticky it is, like how it breaks down. And so most of the time it doesn't take a connoisseur to tell, but when you're evaluating, you know, different indoor strains that are all top tier, a lot of it comes down to like your preference on what type of flavor that you're looking for.
Can you say anything about your drying and curing process?
Yeah, sure. We actually have a whole video on YouTube about how to trim and how to dry.
Okay.
And so we do put out a lot of educational videos on YouTube, but we dry for, you know, 14 to 18 days at like 61 to 63 degrees and like 56 to 58% humidity.
Okay.
That's about what we do.
And what's the cure like?
So the flower cures a lot of times at the same temperature and humidity that it dries at, and a lot of times it'll cure in these bins that we have while it's waiting to be trimmed. And so the whole thing with curing is you're trying to make sure that you expel any of that chlorophyll that might be trapped in the plant material. And sometimes it's easier to do that when you're finished drying the plant before you trim it, when it's still waiting to be trimmed. And so our cure can kind of vary depending on the strain, but a lot of it is circumstantial. You have to be physically looking at the flower and smelling it to know, hey, this is this is right now. You know what I mean?
What do you think the consequences of some of these large commercial grows skipping the cure?
I think, honestly, I feel like what the public thinks of as the cure is like a much more layered scenario, that it's not just like one thing of letting it like quote cure in turkey bags for like 2 weeks or a month or whatever. It's not necessarily that. The way, like how the flower will come out at the end comes back to many things, starting with how it's grown to how it's harvested to how it's dried. And so if one of those things is not right, not curing or curing on a large scale might not even make the difference, and it might always have that chlorophyll smell to it. And so it's like all of these different factors need to kind of come to play. And personally, I like fresher flower. I don't want an over-cured flower, personally. And I think the idea of curing is kind of, it's almost romanticized, and like curing for a long time because people like want to compare it to wine or something like that. But cannabis does have a shelf life. Like, in my opinion, you want fresh flower. And so, yeah.
That's a good answer. What would you tell a home grower who maybe has grown a couple plants and now they want to try living soil?
I would say just go for it, like if you want to start a living soil pot, we actually made a whole video on YouTube on how to start a living soil pot. So they can check out our YouTube on that. But you just got to try it. And if you have grown a plant, you have the fortitude to try to harvest it and see it through. So now you're just changing how you're farming it.
So good. Okay. Is there anything that you want the consumer to know about you guys? They have a lot of choices when it comes to cannabis. It's hard to stand out at a dispensary.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, for us at No Till Kings, we are truly dedicated to producing the best quality flower that we can put out at any given time. And that quality shows through in the product. And one big thing I would say, and this goes for all products, like THC percentage does not matter. And some of our heaviest strains that I smoke regularly are not the highest testing. And there are so many other things that are important rather than THC percentage. And for us, every strain that we put out, we won't put out a strain if it's not great. And so we are only truly dedicated to putting out the best quality products that we can cultivate.
Have you ever grown something that wasn't great and not sold it?
Yeah. Many times we've not put out strains in our jars that maybe we didn't quite like how this batch came out, and either we wholesaled it or whatever. We keep some smalls and make pre-rolls because the weed is so fire. But if it doesn't look the best, or the structure is not right, or whatever it is, we don't want to put that into our jars.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, I hope everyone has the opportunity to try your flower. It seems like it's really at just a whole other level.
I appreciate that.